Why AMD? Why? We now know how many GPUs miners have been buying up, and Starlink's satellite receiver, it overheats really easily. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. We don't want to overheat the Starlink Dishy McDish face. Let's get into the hottest tech news that I can find across the internet. And in case you want to suggest some hot news for me to talk about on these episodes, you can do so over in our Discord server, which is linked in the video description. But let's talk about the why from AMD. Which company am I talking about? The 6900 XT Liquid Edition has launched, my friends. It is a very expensive card for very few people, bringing very little extra benefit over the original card. But you know, AMD has to get those high margin profits somehow. The RX 6900 XT Liquid Edition has 330 watts of total board power, 18 gigabits per second GDDR6 memory, which is still slower than the GDDR6X that's on the RTX 3080 and 3090, because those are closer to 21, but it is now available. It's not really being sold to you individually, it's being sold to system integrators, and it has faster VRAM, as I mentioned, roughly 200 megahertz higher on the game clock, and then more 30 watts better board power. That's the general statement of what this card is, except for, let's talk about the pricing of this bad boy, okay, because the 6900 XT is a reasonable compared to NVIDIA, $999. The RTX 3090 is an unreasonable $1,499. And now the 6900 XT liquid cool system looks to be about $825 more than that $999 price point on the 6900 XT regular version, because we're finding in system integrators like Main Gear that it's a $2,200 upgrade over an RTX 3060, whereas the regular XT is only $1,400 upgrade. So that's just a massive price increase. That's almost 100% for what's gonna be not anywhere close to that better performance, all right? If we're gonna call out NVIDIA for their 3080 Ti shenanigans, where they're pricing it at $1,200, $1,300 for very little extra performance over the 3080, then we need to call AMD out for this, because it's the same, I guess they added a better cooler, so I guess you're paying for that. In my mind, this is the same thing. It's just high margin products trying to capitalize on as much profit as possible before this crypto craze dies down, which we're going to be talking about in tomorrow's episode of Hot News, so get subscribed for that. But it just doesn't feel beneficial to the customer unless that customer happens to have a huge chunk of cash just sitting in their bank account, which leads me to talking about today's episode sponsor. Today's episode of Hot News is brought to you by Wealthfront. I'm a big believer in making sure that my finances are in order, not only because I love having money, but also because I have a special needs child who's likely is going to need resources even after I'm gone, so preparing for the future is something that is on my mind all of the time. And that's why I'm excited to talk about today's sponsor, Wealthfront. Wealthfront is investment made simple. Good investment doesn't have to feel like a roller coaster. There's decades of data showing that investing in a globally diversified portfolio of low-cost index funds is the best way to put your savings to work. It might sound complicated, but it's not. Wealthfront makes investing easy, affordable, and accessible no matter what your knowledge of finance is. And account setup is easy, and the service is affordable. You just need a few minutes and $500 to open an investment account, and they take care of the rest. And their annual management fee is only 0.25% of your assets. From general savings to retirement, they have you covered with their set it and forget it software, which has been designed by PhDs to employ strategies like rebalancing to keep you at your desired risk threshold, and look for opportunities to lower your tax bill through their tax loss harvesting service. Again, go to invest.wealthfront.com/hot news to get started with Wealthfront today. Big thanks again to them for sponsoring today's episode. But the 6900 XT liquid cooled is not the only GPU news that we have today here on Hot News. We also got indication from AMD that their upcoming MI200 GPUs based on the CDNA 2 architecture is going to be featuring what we've been waiting for a long time, and that's multi-chip modules. 2 GPUs smashed together to make one bigger GPU. This is happening where they're connecting and it's gonna work through some sort of fabric, and we're just getting bigger GPUs through the intermingling of multi-GPUs, just like we have on Ryzen chips. When is this coming out for desktop? The rumor is obviously RDNA 3. We'll just have to wait and see, but confirmed in some patches for CDNA 2. We also got patents being published from AMD about how they're going to do task transition between their big and little just processors that they're going to move into the heterogeneous architecture like we're expecting them to do in future Ryzen chips. This is completely up in the air. This likely will not be happening on the next generation of Ryzen processors. It'll be the one after that where they're going to do big and little, whereas Intel is now going to be releasing that with Alder Lake later this year. But you can see the patent right here. We'll leave links in the video description in case you want to do a deeper dive on what the patent explicitly means. But a lot of people have been explicit with both their language as well as their intention that they do not like miners. They don't like miners buying up the GPUs. They don't like miners scalping everything. Those aren't the same things. People are just angry they can't get GPUs. Well, there's a new report coming out from John Petty Research that indicates in the first quarter of 2021 alone, 700,000 GPUs were shipped to crypto miners, which sounds like a lot because numerically it is. However, percentage-wise, it is not the majority, according to John Petty's research based on how they break things down of attach rates of cards to AIB systems. They found that crypto miners are typically buying up about 25% of the available cards that are on the market. You can see the breakdown of it right here. So it's not exactly they're not an overwhelming portion. However, they are a considerably large portion, but this does seem to indicate that a lot of the revenue that's going towards AMD and NVIDIA is coming from mainstream level consumers and just system integrators and the people who are buying these things in bulk, not for crypto. Let me know, 25%, too high, higher than you expected, lower than you expected? Obviously, if you're salty that you can't get a GPU, you want that number to go closer to 0, but I wanna know how you feel about the 25% attach rate for crypto miners down below in the comments. You could also sound off on this next article, which is there's a Western Digital Black SN850 SSD, which performs 40% worse when attached to an X570 motherboard and a Ryzen processor. It's not exhibiting the same behavior when you attach it to an Intel motherboard. It's only on AMD motherboards. Western Digital has come out and said that they are aware of the issue. They're actively working on finding out how to fix it, but it's time for conspiracy theory, which is Intel's paying them off. Intel doesn't want SSDs to work as good on AMD. Even though X570 was the first chipset to support PCI Express 4.0 for the consumer, that's irrelevant, okay? Intel supports it now, so they're gonna pay all of these companies to make it happen. That's not likely what happened at all, but I'm sure it's been in people's minds. And I know it's on your mind right now. Cryptostonks. Stonks. Bitcoin down 3%. Oof, that's not good. $38,500. Ethereum down 4.5% to $2,400. Doge down 2.3 to 31 cents. Time for meme stonks. GameStop ending up at 0.63%. Not too bad of a close at $223.91. AMC going down 7%. The big gainer over the last couple of weeks is now slightly losing traction, and BlackBerry down 8%. Oh, that hurts portfolios, my friends. We obviously are waiting for something to take off in the meme stock economy. That's allegedly what I'm hearing is supposed to be happening in the rumor mill. People like the stock. The mother of all short sells is happening. Where does it go from here? And where does social media go from here? To audio applications. That's right, Spotify launching its Clubhouse competitor known as Green Room, where you can go into a room with people and discuss things that are happening on the app, which I guess sort of makes sense when it comes to like podcasts. If you want to start a podcast discussion, or the people who run a podcast want to invite their viewers or listeners to come in and talk with them in a green room. But for music, talking with people would remove me from listening to the music that I'm enjoying. So I don't understand why I would do this unless it's to talk to the artist who makes the music. I'm not a big fan of like communicating with people who I don't know about my preferences, even though that's literally all I do every day.
Hypocrisy.
Anyways, it's been announced that creators can use Green Room to actually record episodes of their podcast and then upload them straight to Spotify from that moment forward. But while Spotify is getting into the social media game, social media giant Facebook is getting into the podcast game, with them announcing that you can start podcasts on your page as of June 22nd. Audio apps getting into social media apps getting into audio. Next, you're gonna tell me that China and Russia are partnering up to go to the moon? That's exactly what I'm about to tell you. They're planning their first joint astronaut moon landings to happen within the next decade. Plans for the International Lunar Research Station are now underway, with the preliminary talks going on. The idea is that they're gonna be able to get to the moon probably sometime after the Artemis program from the United States, but now these two countries working together to get to that piece of space cheese. And you can download lots of pieces of internet cheese with how much data everybody apparently is using on their phones. I am not one of these users, but the average mobile data user, according to a new report coming out, uses over 10 gigabytes per month. I'm on Wi-Fi all the time. I don't need this. This is not my life. And then places like Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, and Oman, the average usage is 18.4 gigabytes. The average usage in the United States and Western Europe is roughly 11 gigabytes. So y'all are using a lot of data. Roughly 15% of the American population is mobile data only. I don't understand this lifestyle. Are you one of them? How much mobile data do you use every month? Let me know down in the comments. And I tell you, I would use the heck out of the second generation of Sony's PSVR. The first one sucked, but I'm eagerly awaiting the second one, and it looks like I'm gonna have to wait until late 2022 is the latest report coming out from Bloomberg. But this year is the time we can say goodbye to GTA Online. It's over, my friends. Just shed a tear if you're on PS3 and Xbox 360. It's not dying, my friends, okay? This is the cash cow for Rockstar. They're not shutting it down. They're not coming out with GTA 6, all right? You just need to get off those old consoles. You got GTA Online coming out to the PS5 and the Series X later this year, so you just have to wait for that to happen, and then you kick everybody off all the old consoles, then it's over. So you can't do that anymore. Also, Max Payne Online is shutting down. Cool. But you don't have to worry about Xbox shutting you down if you're a lowly Xbox One console holder, in case you want to play some series exclusives that might be rolling out in 2022. Microsoft has come out and announced that you can use those exclusives if you use xCloud, because you can stream the game to your Xbox One. Don't worry, it's not a useless piece of crap. Once they actually start rolling out exclusive, you can now use it as cloud streaming hardware that you paid $600 for at one point. Thank you so much, Microsoft, for being benevolent for that, while also rolling out a free app on TVs, as well as a streaming stick that's probably not gonna cost anything whatsoever, really. And so yes, I really appreciate my $600 streaming device. But now let's talk about the king of cloud game streaming. Stadia is just gracing us with the presence of another search functionality on the app, okay? In case you don't know, Stadia is owned by Google, which was once famous for making a search engine. That's what they're known for. In April, Stadia got its own search engine, and now Stadia has filtered search, so that when you're looking in something like a sale, you can search there too. Good job, Stadia! Like, I don't want to crap on them too hard because it's nice that they're like updating it and bringing new features, but just, you're a search engine company. How is this happening so much later than when the thing launched? This should be a base level day one feature, which a lot of people are thinking about Starlink's Dishy McDish face because it's overheating when it's just kind of operating like normal. It's going into shutdown when it hits 122 degrees Fahrenheit or roughly 50 degrees Celsius. This is coming out as reports of, it's being summer in the Northern Hemisphere and people live in places like Arizona where it gets actually hot. Well, then you don't have internet with Starlink because it overheats and you're not able to do it. And then this one Reddit user reported the fact that he was using a sprinkler on it to keep it cool. And then one day that didn't work because it got too hot. However, there's also reports that it's not working when it's 80 degrees outside because just the surrounding heat of the sun resonating off the rocks just causes it to be too hot. The operating temperature of Dishy McDish face is roughly up to 104 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's not something that Starlink didn't tell us, but if you live anywhere besides Southern California, that's not hot enough to actually operate outside because there's a thing called weather. This is something that has happened to Elon Musk's companies before. When the Tesla Model S first came out, it didn't have good winter features, and now we're seeing that the Model Y's heat pump is not working well in the winter, and the auto wipers on the Model 3 suck huge butt, and that's because they don't expect rain in Southern California. They designed for themselves, sold it all over the world, and went, whoops, other people have different climates? Oh no! Which they probably could have figured out if they had enough processing power in their computers to understand, which AMD might want to give them, because Zen 4 reports on the upcoming EPYC chips indicate that it's going to be up to 128 cores on their massive server chips. The previous report that is that it's going to be up to 96, but now there's a new rumor coming out from a well-known leaker that it's going to be up to 128 cores, 256 threads, and 12-channel DDR5 5200 memory. I don't know who needs more than that. I guess Tesla, to let you know how the weather is. And in case you want to know how Windows 11 is, you should check out yesterday's episode of Hot News right there, where we show you exactly what the leak is like. See you tomorrow.